This is RoamingMillennial. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we have quite a few people in this stream, I think more than I've ever hosted before, but today we're going to be talking about a recent video that I made called The Problem with Vegans and VeganGains response video to it. If you're active on Twitter, you've probably seen stuff about this on our timelines. So here to talk about that today, I have VeganGains and AskYourself, and RantingMonkey is also joining me, and moderating is Blaire White. Everyone's channel links will be in the description if you want to check anyone out later. And like I mentioned to Blaire before we started, I feel with videos like this, they kind of lose their productivity after about an hour, so we are going to try to keep this to an hour in length and stop at around 12:30. So if you guys want to say hi.
What's up? Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so I guess I'll start. I made a video, I think it was about a week ago, and it was about vegan. And I think, there's been a lot of responses from different vegan YouTubers, and I think, there were some points that were brought up that I think were pretty good, but overall I think a lot of the responses did sort of take my argument in a different way that it was meant. And I was thinking we could maybe go kind of break my video down, go point by point, kind of like a live response video to it, so we can talk about what the problems you guys saw with it, and yeah, if that's okay. The first thing I think a lot of people had with my video was the fact that they took it as an assault on all vegans, and I think, VeganGains, I think that's something you felt as well, that I was saying you hashtag all vegans.
Well, the thing is, taking the entire video in context, like, you not only just said things that were near the end of the video that were just scientifically incorrect, but you misrepresented the entire vegan community, and it almost seemed deliberate, and it did seem like an attack against us. So here's a quote from your video at 11 minutes 22 seconds. "Vegans don't like to bring this up, especially to potential recruits, but if you're going vegan, you will need to take a B12 supplement." If you actually look at vegan YouTube channels and search B12, we're not hiding a secret about B12 that you need to take a supplement. So right here, you're trying to suggest that we're trying to get people to go vegan, and we don't even give a crap if it harms them. Mm-hmm. So do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, and that, the B12 thing, that's actually, and the thing is, when I'm making a video like this, I fully admit I am speaking in generalizations, right? And, I did try to mention, this isn't about all vegans, but that is something I could have done a better point at, emphasizing at each point, hey, not all vegans do this, not all vegans do this. Because I understand when someone's talking about your community, whether or not it applies to you, right there you're going to feel like it's sort of an attack on your ideology. So, I totally agree
really.
And I want to throw something here. Also,
we'll get into that. Sorry.
Right at the start, I'm pretty sure you said something along the lines of, as a general rule, I don't tend to like vegans or vegan behavior. So, that framing does seem like you're not talking about, just a small chunk of vegans. It seems like you're talking about a lot of us.
But then I also said, if you are a vegan that is a normal person, I don't have an issue with you. You do you, I think, is the exact phrase that I said. Again,
don't you think there's an implication about the percentage of vegans who behave like this when you say as a general rule?
Maybe, but this is, again, just my experience with vegans.
Fair? Do you think that most vegans are like that?
Let Roaming finish her thought, though.
Like, maybe, I think the thing is we have to look at this kind of, as a vegan, I'm sure you felt personally attacked by my video, but I also make videos about feminists. And anytime I talk about feminists, I actually never mention hashtag not all feminists, even though that is what I mean. So I think here we're talking about semantics of, well, how many of these vegans were you talking about? I went on to delineate specific behaviors. So I think, if you're not a vegan who conforms to any of those behaviors, it's pretty safe to say that my video wasn't about you.
Yeah, but you said as a general rule, so it seems like you're talking about a large percentage. So do you have any, not to be completely autistic here, but do you have any kind of actual statistics or evidence that vegans behave like this in general?
I do. All you have to do is look at the comments that we've gotten from these videos.
That is not evidence, that's an anecdote.
How is that not evidence? Having all these people do that isn't evidence.
Yeah, it's not evidence of the
What would you consider evidence then?
I would consider any kind of like actual statistical analysis to be evidence.
Like you're talking about comments you personally received on your YouTube channels.
If you want, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to say some fraction of vegans behave like this, we're not sure how many, that's fine. But if you're going to say as a general rule, yeah, I mean, I would want to see something more than an anecdote about a comment section.
Well, what she didn't say as a general rule, all vegans are jerks. What she said is a general rule. She doesn't enjoy associating.
True.
Yeah, and then she describes why. So the implication is that it's because, as a general rule, vegans are behaving in this way. I mean, presumably if they weren't, then you wouldn't, as a general rule, have a problem with them.
Well, I think it is fair to say that this video was based on my experiences with vegans. And, you know, my experiences, they are what they are. And I specifically, and you know, it's again important to remember, like Ranting Monkey said, I, as a general rule, don't like vegan behavior, or, you know, because they do these things. And then, you know, like I said before, if you're not a vegan who doesn't conform to the things that I mentioned, it is safe to say that the video doesn't apply to you. If we're talking about like, well, you implied how many vegans act like this, I mean, that really is a semantic point to make that doesn't address the core of the issue. It is. It doesn't address the core of the issue. And if a feminist were to look at any one of my videos and were to say, well, what percentage of feminists conform to this sort of militant behavior you're talking about, I need a statistic. I think, you know, the fact that, and again, like, you can call it anecdotal, but when we're talking about personal interactions with people, and these are documented personal interactions that I have had.
Okay, well, would you at least acknowledge that you can't put any kind of percentage on it?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We can't put a percentage.
Why are you talking about a general rule if you can't put a percentage on it?
Because general rule doesn't necessitate a percentage. Okay,
so it's baseless. It's your personal idea.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. It's her video, her opinion.
Well, anyway.
Opinion, you can't back it up with any evidence except, hey, Monkey's going to point to a comment section.
No, what you're saying,
Roaming did state, just a second, guys. Roaming did state, as a general rule, her experience with vegans, which does imply, you know, her personal interaction. So, of course, you can't really add a percentage to that.
Well,
and she did concede,
as a general rule, my experience.
And she did concede that she could have done a better job of talking about vegans as a whole.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is if you can't give any kind of real evidence for a percentage, you shouldn't be talking about general rules. You can say, I'm only talking about those who these statements apply to, all you want, but when you say general rule and you can't put any kind of percentage on it, that's it's well poisoning. It's not actually something you can back up. It's making it look.
You're asking for a percentage about her experience.
Well, if you want to say that your experience reflects reality, yeah, I would definitely ask for a percentage, or at least some kind of indication more than the comment section that you're pointing to.
Well, all I'm trying to point out is that my experience reflects what I've said. My experiences does reflect the reality of what my experiences have been.
It does reflect the reality of reality.
Well, Roaming, like, it's very clear that you misrepresented the vegan community here. Like, for the first thing I mentioned was the B12 issue. You were trying to state that most vegans will try to hide nutrition information from you that could potentially harm you just because they want you to go vegan, which is completely untrue. If you look at the majority of vegan videos on YouTube, like actual vegan channels, they'll tell you about B12. Like, there's videos on my channel where I admit to taking B12 injections. And you also stated your 5th issue with vegans in your video. You stated that vegans often misrepresent nutritional data, and then you continued to misrepresent nutritional data.
Actually, that point is something that I would like to address. And again, like, I can see, like, if I'm the kind of person who makes response videos to different communities all the time. And so I didn't really think to make this one any more or less specific than the videos that I make on feminism. So, you know, maybe that's my issue
with a topic that's so complex and intricate, like nutrition. You decided to randomly cherry pick. No, you decided to randomly cherry pick online blogs. You randomly cherry picked online blogs that supported your bias, and you thought that was adequate evidence to argue against veganism. I'm
not arguing against veganism.
No,
if you listen to the entire point that I made at the end of the video, I finished with, you can be healthy if you're vegan, you can be completely healthy, but it's not this perfect utopian diet that a lot of vegans make
That's
it
a
out to be.
worthless statement. That's
Well,
a
let Roaming
worthless
finish.
throwaway statement.
Let Roaming finish.
That is the exact quote of what I said in my video.
Yeah, it is.
And so, yeah, let me explain why that's relevant. So, you know, when I'm talking about B12 supplements, so many vegans that, and again, this is all based on my personal experiences, so many vegans, especially, you know, I've seen even more of this as a result of that video, tell me like, no, I don't need a plan. I don't take any supplements. I just eat beans and rice and I'm totally fine. Like and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that, you know, vegan bloggers who talk about nutrition specifically are doing this. Obviously not. Most of the information I've learned about vegan supplements has come from vegan nutrition experts themselves saying, hey, we need this because we're not getting it from them. And that, you know, I think that's great if you're trying to advocate for veganism, obviously present the right information. But, you know, my issue is with vegans who, like I said, present it as this perfect utopian diet. But the reality is you will need to, at the very least, plan things. And that's what any nutritionist will tell you.
Well, that's a throwaway statement. Like, it's a worthless throwaway statement because any diet you have to appropriately plan to be healthy. And I think
Right,
that's
and
very
I'm not
clear
saying-
with the, I think that's very clear by just looking at America or really any developed Western civilization. Most people are overweight, unhealthy, and incredibly high rates of chronic disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer. So what the hell are you even trying to suggest when, if you're going to go vegan, you need to plan appropriately? So if you eat meat, you don't have to plan your diet appropriately? You're trying to suggest something here. You're trying to suggest that vegan diets are inherently deficient or inherently nutritionally deficient, and you have to take extra special care and attention to ensure you won't become unhealthy as a vegan, which is completely untrue. And you even admitted in your own video that vegans on average tend to be healthier. So you're conflicting, your own statements conflict with each other in your own video?
Well, actually, the thing with veganism is that a vegan diet in of itself, all the requirements, like for someone to adhere to a vegan diet, is to just not eat animal products. Within that, yeah, you can be unhealthy, and yeah, you can be totally healthy if you plan right and take supplements.
Just
and
like
that's
if you
the
eat
point
meat, so it's a worthless throwaway statement.
No, like I said in the beginning of the video, many meat eaters are unhealthy. They eat too much processed meat. They eat way too much meat as a percentage of their diet. But the thing is, like, if there was a huge meat movement that was going around telling people that, you know, or if there were significant members in that group telling people, hey, I just eat meat all the time and I'm totally fine, I would take issue with that. And that's, you know, the vegans who are going around saying, I don't need a plan at all. You know, you don't really need any supplements, or, you know, just rice and beans, it's totally fine. There are vegans like that. And, you know, for those people, I think they're kind of downplaying how much effort a vegan diet will take. And that's not to say that meat eaters don't need a plan at all. I don't think that at all. But again, I'm not aware of this meat-eating movement trying to convince people to eat more meat.
Yeah, you actually referenced Dr. Mark Hyman, who suggested butter was a health food, and you actually used his video to suggest that saturated fat and cholesterol has no relation with heart disease. And again,
that's not what he said.
That is exactly what he said. He actually made two videos, and you referenced the one video where he claimed that new studies have recently come out where they found no association between saturated fat consumption and heart disease. And you criticized vegans for misrepresenting nutritional studies in the video. That is a misrepresentation of nutritional data. Did you see?
You're talking
wait. Excuse me. Was that something she specifically highlighted in her video?
Yeah,
No.
it was. You used his video in your video.
If she used part of his video, that's fine. But did she use the part you were talking about?
Yes, she did. And I responded to that in my response. You used a clip where he suggested that saturated fat consumption has no relation to heart disease risk.
You're saying he suggested that saturated fat consumption has no relation to heart disease risk, when what he actually said was that when you look at populations of meat eaters who are health conscious and populations of vegans and vegetarians who are, yes, that is what he said.
That's what he said.
That is exactly what he said.
That is what he said, but you're also missing another point. Like,
that is what he said, but.
No,
but that is what he said, and that is
context there, Monkey.
You're missing the context. This Dr. Mark Hyman that you referenced, he was arguing that saturated fat and cholesterol has no relation to heart disease risk, and I pointed out in my response why that is incorrect.
Right, but the part of the video that
no. Let's just end this here. Do you think saturated fat and cholesterol consumption has any relation to heart disease risk?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so then you agree that animal products increase heart disease risk?
If you eat them too
No,
much,
no, no. They
hang on,
too much, yes.
hang on. Yeah, if you eat them too
Let
much,
Robin
the
finish.
thing is, when we talk about animal products, you know, people, vegans, not all of them, obviously. Hashtag not all. Disclaimer. Anytime I say vegans, hashtag not all. Oh goodness. So yeah. So anytime, you know, meat is mentioned, the thing is that they're not a homogenous group, right? Something like red meat is very different than something like salmon. And if you look at the, you know, longest living populations on the planet, they are not vegans, but
the
they
longest
do
living
not eat.
population on the planet is Adventist
Wait,
vegetarians.
let Roaming finish. Let Roaming finish.
They are not vegans, but they also do not eat large amounts of red meat. And I think that is really important. And, you know, when we look at any food group, we also have to weigh pros and cons, the benefits to eating them and how much we should be taking in. You know, vegans, soy, if you are vegan, probably makes up a significant amount of your diet. If you eat too much soy, it can have negative side effects on your health, including kind of messing up your hormones level. That's not to say that we shouldn't eat any
That's
soy.
scientifically
but
inaccurate. You
That is-
keep- No,
I thought it
that's
was
scientifically
phyto-
inaccurate. The only case reports in all the medical literature that show a negative effect of soy consumption on hormone levels, there's only 2 case studies. The subjects were eating minimum 14 servings of soy per day. So you're talking about like 10 blocks of
Right.
tofu.
and that's fine.
How many
like,
vegans eat 10
that's-
blocks of tofu? Like, this is
not
completely
saying-
irrelevant.
I'm not saying that vegans will have messed up hormones because they eat soy. I'm saying that soy in and of itself could, like, anything you eat, if you're eating too much of it and not eating it in balance, can have a negative side effect of your health.
Okay.
Meat is one of those things. And we are at a level in our society where I completely agree that we are eating too much meat.
Okay, you're playing a semantics game. I'll run this. I'll break this down. The healthy, normal physiological range for LDL cholesterol is 50 to 70 milligrams per deciliter. This is the level where atherosclerosis cannot occur. And if you don't know, atherosclerosis just means clogging of your arteries. At 75 milligrams per deciliter or over, this is where atherosclerosis starts to progress. This relationship is linear, so the higher your cholesterol score, the faster atherosclerosis progresses. When you consume dietary saturated fat and cholesterol, your cholesterol score goes up. And this also is a hyperbolic curve. So what happens is, if you eat a very small amount of saturated fat and cholesterol, that will have a dramatic impact on raising your serum cholesterol score. If your serum cholesterol is already high, adding more dietary cholesterol and saturated fat won't do much. So what you're saying is, meat, animal products, these foods that contain saturated fat and cholesterol, they are only harmful in large quantities. These small quantities are very harmful. They will raise your cholesterol significantly, and you need very low cholesterol scores to avoid atherosclerosis, 50 to 70 milligrams per deciliter. And if you're going to make this claim, we need to eat meat in moderation. What is moderate? Prove to me what amount of meat you can eat without raising your cholesterol score above 70 milligrams per deciliter.
Yeah, that would be actually a great study that I would love to see more information on.
I also want to point out that...
But again, here,
Wait,
not
let Robin
every
finish.
meat source. Not every meat source is has the same amount of cholesterol. If we're talking about something like jellyfish, which I eat actually more of than red meat.
Jellyfish?
Yeah, jellyfish is a very good source of protein and extremely
Why is
low
it a very
in fat.
good source of protein?
Because
Why
because
is it a
it's
good source
meat.
of protein? No, why is it a good source of protein?
Let her finish. Let her finish.
But like the point.
Would deny
No,
what
No,
you're
why
trying
is
to
it a
make
good
it-
source of
Wait,
protein?
guys.
I'm letting her
Roaming
finish.
needs to
I'm just
answer that
asking her,
question.
why is it a good source of protein?
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
asked her
saying
multiple
that
times.
we don't deny that cholesterol is going to vary between foods. I mean, I don't think anyone would suggest that.
No, the problem
Right.
is you're playing a semantics game. You're saying that if you eat something harmful infrequently enough, it won't have any effect on your health. That's like arguing, okay, cigarettes aren't the problem. It's smoking too many cigarettes. And when you combine the ethical issue of killing animals, your argument is complete nonsense.
That's
But,
where I really
that's,
No, no.
that's not
There's
my
no-
argument.
Guys, Roaming needs to respond to these points. Let Roaming respond.
Right, but you're saying my argument is like inconsequential. My argument here was that the health implications that are related to meat are misrepresented by the vegan community when it comes to studies showing that vegans live longer. That is the exact way my video frames it. And again, like
And it was wrong.
Ask Yourself says, I don't think that everyone is trying to group all meat products in the same way. But when you're talking about things that are high in cholesterol, not every meat product is high in cholesterol.
Any food that contains cholesterol is bad for you. Cholesterol is bad for you. And you're trying to suggest that you can still eat it and be healthy, which is a nonsense argument. That's like saying you can still smoke cigarettes and still be healthy. Well, sure, if you only smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes a month, that's not really going to make a difference, but the argument still is, cigarettes are unhealthy, cholesterol is unhealthy. Why are you saying that it is okay to consume cholesterol for health when it is clearly not healthy? It makes no sense.
I'm not saying that it's okay to consume cholesterol for health.
Okay, so then you agree that cholesterol is bad for you.
Yes, cholesterol is obviously bad for you, but there's also a difference between. There's also a difference between different types of cholesterols, and not all meat has the same amount of cholesterol.
I don't think anyone denies that.
You don't know what you're talking about? No, again, you don't know what you're talking about. If you look at the meta-analysis I referenced of 395 metabolic ward experiments, dietary saturated fat and cholesterol raises your serum LDL bad cholesterol significantly. It only raises your HDL good cholesterol by an insignificant margin. So when you're going to consume...
When you're talking about these studies and you're saying, like, meat, what meat? Again, like, I'm not advocating that everybody eats steak all the time every day.
Neither am I. No, I'm saying these specific isolated nutrients, saturated fat and cholesterol, significantly raises your LDL bad cholesterol, and it only causes a minor increase in your HDL good cholesterol. The overall net effect is harmful.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that, you're saying all, or hang on. So the thing with this is that you're trying to make it seem like I'm saying that cholesterol is good for you. I'm not saying cholesterol is good for you.
Okay, so you agree that animal products are unhealthy.
I'm not saying cholesterol is good for you, but there are some health.
So then you agree that animal products that contain cholesterol are unhealthy.
There's a variation of cholesterol levels.
No,
within animal products.
I agree, but
animal products that have
everyone chill out for a second. It needs to be a conversation. It can't be Roaming says 2 words and then you try to finish our sentence for her.
Okay, sure.
Okay, go Roaming.
Thanks, Blaire. Animal products that have more cholesterol are obviously less healthy for you than animal products that don't have high cholesterol, especially when we're talking about something like beef compared to, again, the jellyfish, one of my favorite foods. So, I think having a discussion about what it means, to have a healthy diet, we need to take into account all of these things. And, you're saying like, oh, bad cholesterol. Like, yeah, absolutely. That's a big issue. We eat way too much red meat. And that's, I think, a large contributor to the amount of heart disease that we're seeing right now. And I'm not denying that, but to say that meat equals this really awful thing that, like I said it, the way I framed it in my video, the worst thing ever, that's just not true. There are health benefits to eating meat, and there are downsides to eating meat. There are all health benefits. The fact that it contains B12, it contains
that's not a health benefit, that's a nutrient. You can get it from a supplement. Why would you consume meat which causes heart disease when you can just get it from a supplement? That's not a health benefit, that's a nutrient.
Getting nutrients is beneficial to your health.
Yeah, and Big Macs have B12. So are you saying Big Macs have nutrition benefits? Like, you're taking things out of context.
No, you keep taking things out of context.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. In your opinion, I do have to ask this: is it impossible to be healthy eating meat?
No, obviously not. Just like it's impossible. No, you can
be
be healthy smoking cigarettes.
I know what's happening here. There's a difference between something being unhealthy in of itself and being able to consume some level of an unhealthy thing while still being in generally good health. Okay, so a cigarette is not healthy, but you could smoke some amount and not be in bad health. This is also why the health environment, or why the health arguments, the environmental arguments, they push to a very restricted kind of meat intake, but not necessarily all the way to veganism. This is why the ethics are so important. And we really should get onto that. I mean, I'm curious why you guys think it's okay to stab. That's really my core question here. Why stab something needlessly?
To stab?
Yeah, to stab.
Stab animals needlessly, slit their throats open. That's how animals are killed.
Yeah.
Well, I would actually like to address I think it was 4th point of my video.
I know but we'd like to talk about.
Wait, let her finish. Let her finish. Let her say what she wanted to address.
Well, it's a different point. It's a topic change, but
Well, actually, you're bringing up, people like to bring up the fact that I address the ethical concerns of veganism in my video, and that relates to the fourth point of my video, which both.
You're right. I'm sorry. The fourth one is the sentience one. That is my bad. Totally.
Yeah. So that's what I just wanted to bring up, because I know both of you, like in your responses, address that thing, and I think the first thing I would like to say is that in my video, the point that I was making, number 4, is explicitly that not understanding hierarchies of sentience or intelligence. And in that part of my video, I explicitly mentioned that you can still, if you want to make an ethical argument for not eating meat, you can still do so with acknowledging sentience hierarchies or intelligence hierarchies. But my point,
we both do.
Right.
I argue with those vegans constantly. Look at my Facebook wall. I get in it with them constantly. It's a pain in the ass.
Right, and those are the vegans I was addressing, and I mentioned explicitly we can still have a conversation about the morality of eating meat if we acknowledge, hierarchies of intelligence, but
That's not
it's
what you
hard
said exactly.
That is exactly
You're
what
misrepresenting what you said.
No, that is almost a verbatim quote of what I
No, it's
said.
not.
We can still have that conversation. I specifically said we can still have that conversation, but it's hard to talk about this issue with those vegans who don't recognize that difference.
Well, you're with 2 vegans who do, so let's have the conversation. I mean, why would it be okay?
I'm with 2 vegans who made response videos about my video, and so I would like to address that. And I think, where a lot of vegans are saying like, oh, but you attacked vegan stance on sentience. I didn't attack vegan stance on sentience. I said that I thought you could make an argument for it, but I had an issue with people who were like saying that all life is equal, and that's not to say that all life is important.
You're misrepresenting what you actually said in your own video. What you said was you don't find anything wrong with killing and eating a chicken or a fish. You do have a problem. You said that you can bring up the point that pigs are as if not more intelligent than dogs, and you can make a case there for not harming like pigs. So you're misrepresenting what you said. You weren't.
No,
trying
I said
to say,
all of these.
You weren't
I
trying
said
to
all
say.
Of these things.
You weren't trying to say that we have to acknowledge sentience hierarchies. You said that we should create a sort of baseline for dog intelligence, and there's an argument for any animal that's as intelligent as a dog to have a right to life.
I never said that. I never said that. You're trying to argue against not what I've actually said.
You're playing.
But
this semantic
what you're.
games.
No, I'm not, because these distinctions are important, because what's happening is that you're twisting my argument into something I never said. I said because, like, for example, relating to the fact that I said we can still have a debate on the ethics of eating animals with the knowledge that there are hierarchies of sentience and intelligence.
Okay, so why do you think it's okay to slit a chicken's throat open?
I brought up the point about how pigs are smarter than dogs, but we don't eat dogs, but we commonly eat pigs. So I think if I were a vegan, there would be an argument to be made for not eating pigs. That's not me saying that we shouldn't eat pigs or that the baseline for intelligence of not eating is dogs. That's me trying to understand the vegan perspective and explaining how even if we do adhere to hierarchies of intelligence and sentience, we can still have those conversations. That was me providing an example of still being able to have those conversations, and how acknowledging hierarchies could actually lend itself to perhaps even more productive vegan arguments.
Okay, so why do you think it's okay to slit chickens' throats open?
Hold on a second. Hold on. I think the way this conversation can continue to be productive is if we actually talk about the ethics rather than talking about the ethics.
Yes, thank you.
If you guys want to do that now. How about do that?
Well, I would first I would just like to clarify in this that people are saying in my video, and I'm getting attacked for this, that I was trying to debunk the ethical stance of veganism, which I was not. How was I doing that?
You argued that I'm trying to find the exact quote. 7 minutes, 59 seconds into your video, but for me, probably the biggest reason I'm not vegan is that I don't believe animals are intelligent or sentient enough for it to be akin to murder to eat them.
Right.
You don't think that's suggesting that you are trying to refute the ideology that it's wrong to cause the suffering and death of sentient beings?
I'm not trying to refute anything. I'm explaining why I'm not vegan, and I knew that was an issue that would come up.
That's a
why
refutation.
aren't you vegan?
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing as trying to refute the ideological principles of veganism. You're trying to justify your point of view. That's trying to refute the ideological principles of veganism.
She's saying that she does not consider killing an animal for meat to be the same as murdering a human.
Yeah, and you gave your reasons
Oh,
for that.
we don't either. Does anybody?
Yeah, and we don't either.
Yeah,
Then what do you mean by calling it murder? Do you
Well,
consider it murder if
that is
another
murder.
animal, if two animals kill each other?
No, because the animal doesn't have the same capacity for thought as a human.
They don't have moral agency.
Yeah, and there's a very technical and specific
If I
reason
could
why.
step in, the definition of murder is the unlawful premeditated killing of one human being by another. So
A definition.
Exactly.
There's also brutal killing. There's unnecessary killing. I mean, just read the other definitions. It's not.
no, that's fine. No, that's fine. I'm just
There
giving the
are
definition of murder.
there are non-anthropocentric definitions for the word murder.
Yes, and look, I mean, I'm all with Blaire here. Actually, let's not talk about talking about it. Let's just. Do you think it's okay to stab a pig to death? That's where I'm at. Do you guys think that's all right?
If you're doing it for meat, I have
If
no
you don't
problem
eat
with the
meat.
pig being killed. If you're
Yeah,
doing
so
it for
you have other
fun, no.
sources. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Let's say you have other sources easily accessible, though. It's not a survival situation.
I still don't see an issue with it.
Neither do I. It's
yeah,
not
I still
about
see an issue
survival.
with it.
So you think?
But you do see a problem with murdering a human for food, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So here's why that's not logically consistent. Unless you can actually spell out a difference between humans and animals, which if present in humans instead of animals would make it okay to do this for humans, then you're proposing two different standards for two different creatures, and you're not actually differentiating them in a way that would make the standard apply to either if present in either. So that is a double standard. That is the
Sorry,
definition
could you
of
repeat
double
that? Could you repeat that one more time?
Absolutely. If you're going to say that it's okay, look, if you're going to say that it's okay to murder one creature, but it's not okay to do it to another, you're saying humans, you shouldn't kill a human for food. It's fine to kill an animal for food. Then if you don't want that to be a double standard, you need to differentiate those two systems. You need to point out what it is about animals, which, if true of humans, would make it okay to murder them needlessly for food. So is it that they're less intelligent? Well, if humans were less intelligent, would it be okay to kill them needlessly for food? I don't think so. Is it that they don't have a future concept? Well, assuming that's even true, if humans didn't have a future concept, would it be okay to murder them needlessly for food? So unless you can actually ethically differentiate humans and animals in a way that would make the treatment justified for either, if either of them possess the difference, then you're proposing a double standard.
Sure. Well, to address that, and I would just also like to clarify again, in defense of my video, this was not in the scope of what I intended, and just to again defend my video one more time. I think it was fine and didn't necessarily have to lead to a discussion about this, but to talk about this. So when we look at why it's okay to eat plants, and everyone on the planet will pretty much agree that it's okay to eat plants, even the most dedicated vegan, versus not humans. So in your opinion, either Richard or Ask Yourself, why is it okay to eat plants but not animals?
Because plants aren't sentient and they cannot feel suffering and pain.
Okay, so that's a good.
Come on, that's
Really?
I mean, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, I mean, if the thing can't suffer if it has no experience of life, I mean, you're not one of the people who thinks plants are sentient, are you?
No,
Okay.
but so to
I
go
won't
to.
go there.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But to go off of what Richard said, it's okay to eat plants because they're not sentient and they can't suffer or feel pain. So right there, we're already establishing an ability to distinguish between lives, right? Because both animals and plants, they're both alive.
Mhm.
And from that statement in of itself, we've already established that yes, it is okay to distinguish between what lives are more valuable than others.
Of
Now,
course,
Richard,
I'll agree
yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Okay, so just establishing that it's okay to have that distinction. Now, Richard, you mentioned suffering, pain, and sentience as reasons why animals are not okay to be eaten, but plants are. There are actually some animals, like oysters and mussels, for instance, that are not sentient in any way, shape, or form. They're essentially biological automatons that react to stimuli.
Okay, but
There's actually a lot of debate among
So
vegans
therefore, it's okay to
whether-
kill chickens, pigs, cows, fish.
Wait,
yeah,
hang on, I'm not finished.
Wait.
Yeah, I want to
Go
say
ahead.
something after here, though.
You can say it now if you'd like.
Yeah, I just want to say, look, we can talk about insects and oysters and all the questionable cases and gray areas, but we need to be on the same page with the basics. I mean, let's just talk about cows. Is it okay to stab a cow to death?
Well, actually, I'm trying to make the argument that it is okay to stab a cow to death if you plan on eating it.
Okay,
So-
so
Why?
that's not
I
a
would-
position. If you wouldn't accept stabbing a human to death, and you can't ethically differentiate a cow from a human, in a way.
But
that,
I'm on the way. I'm
Can
on
I-
the way to differentiating. That's
Hold
why
on,
I started with oysters.
I think roaming should make the case about cows.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
I
you're
plan
talking
on
about
it.
oysters, like
let's move to oysters afterwards. Let's
Yeah.
talk about let's get on cows or pigs or something like that.
But I'm
let her
establishing an ideology. I'm establishing a framework for this argument. So yeah, we've already established that yes, it is okay to to differentiate between types of life. So now the question becomes, at what point, like, how do we differentiate? In Richard's opinion, it's through suffering, sentience, and
Logical
pain.
consistency.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before, that's not even consistent among all animals. And like I said, oysters. There are actually some vegan oysters is in keeping with the spirit of veganism, if not necessarily the letter, because of there's no suffering, there's no lack of sentience, and the reason why to clarify, vegans don't have issues with let's say lions eating a zebra because it's part of the natural order. Is that correct?
well, they don't have moral agency, and they need to do it to survive. You do not need meat to survive. You're making a false analogy here.
And let's just be clear, we do recognize that suffering. If we had some kind of God wand and you could wave a wand and make nature not harm itself, then, I mean, sure, we would obviously want to eliminate that suffering. But currently there's just no tangible way to do that. With humans killing animals needlessly, it's like, yeah, we can just not eat their corpses, problem solved.
But I mean, to establish a framework of whether or not it is acceptable, would you describe a lion eating a zebra as akin to the lion murdering the zebra, just like it would, and then eating it like it would be?
No, because they don't have moral agency, and they need to do it to survive.
Well, and I'm going to throw that right back at you. I mean, if a lion eats a human, do you consider that murder?
Yes, actually, and that's what I was about to get at. The reason why I find human life special in and of itself, and it has nothing to do with like the natural order, is because of what is lost when we kill a human, right? And that that is something that as humans we usually agree transcends the naturalistic state of things. Killing someone is wrong, and even though it would be completely within nature for a lion to kill and murder a human, we still would say that is wrong and want to stop it because we value human life. And now the question becomes, why do we value human life, right? And to me, it has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with the fact that we are more intelligent, we are sentient, and within that.
You're ignoring Isaac's question.
No, I'm trying to explain
you're
my
stalling
reasoning.
and you're ignoring his question.
I'm trying to explain
You're
my
doing
reasoning.
a poor job of it, but whatever.
Okay,
go on.
wait. Let's not get too hostile. Let's just zero in here. You can finish what you're saying, but my question, to be specific, what is the difference between a human and a cow, which, if true of a human instead of a cow, would make it okay to stab a human to death needlessly for food?
It sounds like she's answering it, so go, Roaming.
Yeah, so when we look at
one word, it should be one word. There should be a specific.
Why should it be
One
one
word.
word?
Well, I mean,
You can't dictate what her answer will be.
You have to describe a difference. You
it
can
needs to
do
be a
that
difference.
in one word or several words. Like, you don't have to make a 10-minute long rant.
So wait, you guys
But
don't
she can
see any
answer in the way
difference?
that she can answer in the
So
way she
waste
sees
everyone's
fit and
time,
add.
okay.
You
Guys,
guys don't see any difference
You're
between
going for a
cows
try.
and humans.
We do see
No,
a difference. The point is, what is the difference that
And if
makes
you
it
guys
ethical?
can acknowledge that there is a difference, what are you arguing about? If you acknowledge
you don't
there's a difference
understand.
between cows and humans, why are you sitting here begging us to tell you the difference between cows and humans?
Again, that's just your lack of nuance. You're not comprehending the point. If you want to say that it is ethically justified to stab a cow to death for food, but it's not ethically justified to stab a human to death for food, you can't just say, oh, they're different. I could say, okay, well, black people are different. You need to spell out a specific difference, which, if true of humans, would make it okay to do this to humans. Otherwise, it's a double standard.
What do you
Okay,
see
well,
as the
first
difference
off-
between cows and humans?
You're not
don't
understanding
think,
this. I don't think you're smart enough to
first of all,
understand
there's
this.
plenty-
What's the difference?
I'm-
That's what you're asking
You're
us, so
asking,
I'm
I'm
asking you.
trying to talk to you right now. You're asking what is the difference between a cow and a human. There's plenty of differences. One has spots, one's on 4 legs, it's a ruminant, it has a tail, the other reads books. We can talk about a ton of differences. We're looking for a difference which, if true of humans, would make it okay to treat the human in the way that you're proposing treating the cow.
You're
Well,
trying,
for-
but you're
okay,
equating
hold
the
on,
two to
hold
be
on,
the
hold
same
on.
thing.
No,
Hold
we're
on,
not.
Hold on. Everyone stop.
And
I want
no
Roaming
equation.
everyone stop. I want Roaming to be able to answer this. I want Roaming, just answer this question for me really quick.
If you can answer it in one word, maybe do it to appease them. But if you want to give nuance afterwards, do that. But can you answer it in one word?
I
And
can
if not,
answer
she's
it.
allowed. And if not, she is allowed to use as many words as she
Well,
wants.
do whatever she wants.
I can answer in like 3 words, and that would be levels of consciousness. So when we look at the difference between, cows and humans, we have to look at things like intelligence is one thing, the range of human emotions is another thing, ability to appreciate art is one
Can
thing.
I just interject for 1 second?
Ability
Just
to
for 1 second. Can I interject for 1 second? So you're saying that your taste pleasure is more valuable than a cow's life?
I'm saying that my taste pleasure combined with my need for nutrients, combined with the fact that my
You
body
don't
is
need a cow for
biologically
nutrients.
Let her answer. Let her answer.
combined with the fact that my body is made for digesting meat and that
It's
it is
not.
part of
And-
humans are omnivores.
Prove
That-
it. Prove
that-
it. Name one physiological
okay.
adaptation we've made to eat meat.
And one other thing here, just to stay right on
fact that our
top.
stomach- the fact that our stomach is able to digest meat. If you try to give a cow, well, I won't say
We
steak 'cause
actually
that's weird
do
'cause
feed
it's a
cows
cow.
meat. We actually do feed cows meat. We recycle.
But if you try to give it a piece of chicken, its body reacts differently than ours would. We have adaptations for both.
No,
we
we
are
don't.
omnivores. We
No,
do
we
have
don't.
adaptations to both.
Name
We
one.
are
No,
officially.
we can. No, we don't.
Well, hang on. We are officially classified by anthropologists, like biologists, evolutionary
Yeah,
biologists
name one
as
physiological
omnivores.
adaptation we've made
Let
to eat
her
meat.
respond, and maybe she will. Let her respond.
She's not.
So-
She's just ranting about bullcrap.
How do you know
I'm
if you don't
asking.
let her speak, though?
Because
She has
she's
to
not.
speak.
She's not answering my question. Name one physiological adaptation we've made to eat meat. All you've said
Okay, then
is
let's
we
give
can
her-
digest
then let's
it. That's
give-
not a physiological adaptation.
Let's give her
That is
more
a physiological.
No, it's
bio
not. Just
adaptation.
because you can digest something, that does not mean it is a physiological adaptation to eat that food.
That is exactly what it means. It means that
No,
our
it's not.
stomach, yes, it is. Our stomach contains acid that are specifically,
Okay.
enzymes that are specifically able of breaking down meat. The fact that we are
No, it's
able
not.
to,
We do not have enzymes that are specifically designed for eating meat. We have enzymes that can break down protein. You're spewing absolute pseudoscience garbage.
this is not pseudoscience. The fact that
Okay,
we're
name the
omnivores is
enzyme.
not
Name the
Oh,
particular
guys.
enzyme that we
I'm not
have
a
that allows us
scientist.
to
I've
digest
never
meat.
claimed
So
to
then
be,
you
but the
admit
fact
you
that-
don't know what you're talking about.
I
Name
know
the specific
I can be
enzyme. No.
100% certain.
Name
Guys.
the specific enzyme that allows us to digest meat.
Calm down.
Okay.
Calm down.
Name the specific enzyme that allows us to digest meat. If
I
you
am
cannot
not-
do that, then you are
therefore I have
admitting
every-
you don't know what you're talking
Let
about.
her answer.
I am
Take
not.
it
I am
easy.
not a. I'm not a biologist.
Yeah,
and I've
no
never
shit.
claimed to be.
No shit.
Calm down, Richard.
And I have never claimed to be. But the thing is, when you ask biologists, what they say is that we are omnivores.
Okay,
and
then
the
name
fact that-
name the one physiological adaptation we have made to eat meat. If
Well,
you've,
one
if, you,
thing-
if you've researched these biologists, then name the biologist, name
Well,
why they
one-
say this.
Okay, let her name it. Let her name it. Let her
One
name
thing is that you have to look at it in the context of what we are. We don't have the teeth of a herbivore. We don't have
Yeah,
the
we
teeth
do.
of. We have the teeth. We have teeth structure similar to omnivores.
No, we don't.
Like our
No, we
closest-
don't. So our
yes,
teeth
we
are
do.
pointy and protrude.
Here, are you saying canines though? And I also just want to return my initial question because your answer wasn't adequate. You said it's levels of consciousness.
Well,
So
I'm sorry.
if
I did want to answer it. Sorry, we got
Well,
sidetracked.
That's okay. That's okay. No worries. Look, I'm just saying with the answer you provided at the time, maybe you'll have another here. You'll add on to it.
Well,
Level
yes,
of
I would like to add on to it.
well, just 1 second. Level of consciousness, right? Do you think that it's okay to stab to death and consume humans who have the level of consciousness of a cow? So you're talking some retarded person, they're mobile, they can solve basic problems, not much complex cognition. Is it okay to stab that person to death for food needlessly? And if you're going to say no, then you can't appeal to that level of sentience to justify doing it to a cow without creating a double standard.
it. Well, let her
Okay, well,
answer.
Because
Well,
it's
first-
not the same
Let
thing.
her
as
answer
saying-
that. You too, Monkey. Let her answer that specifically.
No, sorry, ranting. Go ahead. I haven't let you talk.
No, you're fine. You're taking a specific abnormality of humans and comparing it to killing a cow.
What
You're
abnormality?
you're
Whoa,
making
what are
it
you
up.
talking about? Sorry, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean a specific abnormality of humans?
You're saying that in order to make your thing work, you're talking about a retarded person.
My thing. It doesn't sound like you know what I'm talking about. My thing is very loose. I'm saying, look, if you're going to appeal to sentience, and you're not going to say it's okay to stab humans of the same level of sentience, then that's not consistent. You're saying this level of sentience justifies needless murder in one case, but not the other. That's a double standard. That's the definition of a double standard.
Well, first off, it's not healthy for humans
Oh,
to eat
man.
other humans, so I think
Okay,
that's
so-
an
okay,
Yeah,
well,
just
important-
like how
let's
it's
deal
not
with that
healthy to eat
difference.
meat.
Whoa, 1 sec. So let's deal with that difference. If it were healthy, would it be okay?
Well, actually, let me get back to why I think cows and humans are different.
Okay,
So we
well-
have things like intelligence, which, intelligence varies from person to person. We are still all smarter
Okay.
than
You're just
Not
wasting
okay
more
to murder
time and
the
not
retarded.
answering.
Wait.
we are still all smarter
Finish.
than chickens. That's one thing. And like I said, the ability to have a full range of human emotions, that is something that is present in even people who are developmentally dysfunctional or developmentally retarded. We still
I'm
have the
very
ability
skeptical of that. You
to
think
feel a full range of human emotions.
I mean, I don't know about that. I haven't looked at any data, but I wouldn't expect a severely retarded person to have the same range of emotions as a normal human being.
They still have a much higher range than animals. If we look at the emotions that animals are capable of feeling,
Again,
animals are capable of feeling, even someone who is retarded is capable of feeling.
Okay,
They're still not comparable. Second, we also have a sense of ethics and justice. We also have a sense of being able to picture ourselves in another person's situation, the ability to empathize, and that has to do with
Animals can
the fact that
empathize.
we are able to look at. Only chimpanzees, not all animals.
No.
Can
Animals
empathize.
can empathize.
No, they cannot. No, they
Yeah, they
cannot.
can.
Not all animals. Cows
Absolutely,
cannot
they
empathize.
absolutely can. Yes, they
cannot.
absolutely
That is not
can.
what science says.
And
Not
so-
all animals can empathize. I'm not
Not
saying none
all,
can,
but
not all of
cows
them.
absolutely can. They mourn
How do
each
cows
other's deaths.
empathize?
They mourn each other's deaths. They love for their own children. You don't
Love,
think that's
love,
empathy?
love, and mourning is not empathizing.
Yes,
When you
that is.
empathize, no, when you empathize with someone, you're picturing yourselves in their shoes. You are making a hypothetical or like an imaginary situation for yourself and wondering, wow, what if that was, right? Because that's what empathy is. And, to be able to do that requires a higher level of reasoning than cows are capable of. It is found in some animals.
So therefore, it's
but
okay to
cows are
stab a
not
cow
one
to
of them.
death.
Yeah.
Well, when we take into account all of these differences, the fact that,
Well, let's just
smarter,
go
we're able to
I
have
think,
more
I
emotions
think
and
if I
everything.
can,
Okay.
if I can just butt in really quick, I think the case Roman's trying to make, and I'm only saying this because I think it's heated and it's hard for it to come across, is that it's not just one thing, or as
Right.
AskYourself wanted her to answer in one word. It's a combination of all of these things put together.
Right,
that makes
so
it
if a
really
human
Yeah,
were
it's right.
retarded and had the intelligence and sentience of a cow, you would agree with killing that retarded person for food.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
because
Well-
you're still a person.
And also, just
You guys-
to be clear,
No,
I
no,
just-
you're
keep
creating a
going
double
to-
standard. So then you're
It's not a
agreeing
double
with
standard.
Guys,
because you're still
everyone can't talk at the same time. That's just not going to work.
I know, and it's my question, so let me just clarify here. Look, just Blaire, you summed it up as one specific difference. It can be a set of differences, just to be clear. But we should still go them one by one and look at them. I mean, you're saying emotional range. So let's say that a human has their emotional range reduced to that of a cow. Is it okay to stab them to death needlessly for food? If not, that's a double standard.
No, it's not, because again, we're looking at things as a whole. The reason why we don't eat the human species and the reason why we value human life as more important than any other animal life is because of all these things that make up our
You're
consciousness.
ignoring
All of
the
things
question.
things that make up our brain
That's
capacity.
that's no different than saying it's just because of the reason we value whites more than blacks is just because of all of these things that make us different. It's like, no, you got to
What?
spell them out. Whoa, listen, you have to spell them out specifically. There should
I did spell them out
Okay,
specifically.
so let's go them one by one. So the first that you talked about was what? Range. First you said intelligence, then you said range of emotion. So
Mhm.
let's just look at both of those. Human, reduced in intelligence and range of emotion to that of a cow. Is it okay to stab them to death needlessly?
No, and the thing is that
So what's
just
the
because a
next
human,
difference? Just keep stacking them on, and we'll just see when you find one that doesn't create a double standard.
okay, that's also fine, but something else we need to understand is that, when we talk about, like, why is it okay to stab a cow, I'm not saying, and I don't think Ranting Monkey is saying this either, that it is okay to just go around stabbing cows. Like, when we're talking about meat,
you're saying for
hang
food.
on, sorry, right, for
Yeah,
food, and
so
that
let's
is,
add that's a difference too. So you're stabbing the human for food.
right, but like I
That makes
said,
it ethical.
we shouldn't eat humans, not just for ethical reasons. So
Okay, so let's just-
cannibalism is something that,
No, if it were healthy.
Yeah, so let's say it's healthy.
But
Let's
if
say we
it-
have
if it
a
were
lower range,
healthy-
intelligence and emotional, smaller emotional range, less intelligence, and it's healthy. Is it okay to stab a human to death needlessly for food?
if it were healthy, if this magical person who
You really
does
gonna
not
say that?
exist, that is,
Here,
you're creating hypotheticals.
You haven't even proven that meat is healthy, so you're full
here's
of
what I
crap.
think we should do, guys. Here's what I think we should do. I think I should give each person, or just roaming and one other person, 30 seconds to make their case, and then the other person 30 seconds. I'll put my timer on, because the talking over each other is not productive, and I think this could be a highly productive conversation. How does that sound
Okay,
to you
sure.
guys?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure. Can I
that
go
sounds
first?
good to me.
Okay, so
Okay,
let
so
me-
So Roaming Millennial agreed that cholesterol and saturated fat is unhealthy. It causes heart disease. She said that vegans need to supplement vitamin K2, and she said, well, the article she referenced stated that foods high in vitamin K2 are egg yolks, milk, cheese, liver, beef, and chicken. These are all foods that are high in saturated fat and cholesterol. So you are creating double standards for yourself. What you're saying conflicts. Your statements constantly conflict with each other. First, you won't admit that meat causes heart disease. Then you'll admit that the individual nutrient constituents of meat cause heart disease. Then you recommend heart disease-causing foods.
Okay,
I
Roaming,
never
30
said that
seconds.
meat doesn't cause heart disease.
Okay, so you admit it's unhealthy.
Wait, no, Roaming has her 30 seconds, though. Roaming has her 30 seconds. Go, Roaming.
Are we talking about 30 seconds of, like, what are we arguing here? Because his
responding
point
to
went
what he-
beyond.
I thought it was just a general point, like just
Yeah, I thought-
where we're at right now.
Oh, well, I thought we were talking
Am I
about
wrong? Is
sentience.
that what you're saying, Blair?
I was
No,
going to say
you know
30
what?
seconds for
You know-
Richard to
no,
talk,
you
and
know
then
what?
30 seconds.
You know what? Ultimately, she has to prove that eating meat is healthy because that is the basis of her argument. She is claiming that it is ethical to kill sentient beings because
And-
we need meat for our health.
And Richard, what I think maybe you guys aren't understanding is that she might need more than 5 seconds to make that point.
Sure,
so she
go
might
ahead.
need.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Explain.
Okay, Roaming, I think you should just respond to that point now.
Okay, so why is eating meat healthy? There are sources of meat like beef that are not healthy and that can be very high in cholesterol, but also it depends on how it's processed, and obviously something that is processed will be more unhealthy than something that's not. But when you talk about things like really high cholesterol level, you're not looking at the full range of biodiversity that lends itself to animal flesh, right? So yeah, I have no issues with claiming that something like salmon is definitely healthy. It's full of healthy
Even though it
amino
raises
acids, fatty acids.
cholesterol to the point where it causes atherosclerosis, it's filled with
It doesn't
mercury
raise-
and
it doesn't-
environmental pollutants. It is high in saturated fat and cholesterol, and it raises your serum cholesterol. And there is a
But when-
direct relationship between your serum cholesterol and your risk of heart disease. The higher
think
your
both of
cholesterol
you
score,
agree-
the higher your risk of heart disease. So you're admitting that salmon is unhealthy.
I'm not admitting that salmon in and of itself is unhealthy.
I think both of you agree.
Does
I think both, hold on. I think both of you agree here that there are both benefits and pitfalls to eating meat. I don't think you guys disagree with that. I really don't.
Yeah.
Well, she still
I mean,
hasn't made
I
an
don't think-
argument for why fish is healthy and safe to consume.
Well, fish is.
But I think she has. I think she's
she hasn't.
mentioned in
What,
the
protein?
positives of eating
Protein?
it. And
I can get protein from lentils. Why is fish healthy?
Being able
Okay,
to get
but-
protein from another source doesn't mean that the meat source isn't a source of nutrition. That's
Right.
part of your argument is that.
Yeah, well, guess
The
what?
difference-
Lentils don't
That
have
doesn't-
saturated fat or cholesterol. They don't cause heart
The-
disease, and in fact, they
Well, then
prevent
fine.
But
heart
You eat
they're
those,
also
but I'm
not
gonna
full of
eat meat because they have the
omega-3 fatty
nutrients.
acids, right?
Yeah, well,
So-
you know what? Omega-3 fatty acids don't protect your heart health. They have benefits for brain function, but fish are also contaminated with shit like mercury, which has negative
But that's-
effects on your heart health and brain function.
That's
The
You're
difference
making
is,
ridiculous-
guys,
fish.
guys, the difference is Richard is harping on the positive effects and Roaming seems to be leaning more towards the negative, and that's where you guys are sticking in. I think both of you can concede there are both positives and negatives to eating salmon.
Well,
I
no,
absolutely agree with that.
no. The issue is you have to look at the entire effect this food has. Yeah, salmon has omega-3s, which are good for you, but it also has saturated fat and cholesterol. So obviously the most logical thing to do is to look for a source of omega-3 that does not contain saturated fat or cholesterol. So things like chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, those have omega-3s. You can also take an algae-based DHA supplement, which has absolutely no environmental pollutants like mercury, PCBs that are found in salmon. So why are you saying salmon is healthy when it has all of these
But
pitfalls?
Salmon is healthy. It has
Yeah, why?
omega-3 fatty
Why?
acids.
Why?
Those are good fats instead of bad
That's
fats.
not. That
and they're
doesn't make
also-
it healthy. Again, you're ignoring the nutritional pitfalls. It contains saturated fat and cholesterol. You're also
Here's the
ignoring.
middle ground.
You're also
Here's
ignoring
the
that.
middle
it's-
ground.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Wait. It doesn't
I'll be
contain
back in 1
saturated
minute.
fat.
Yes, it
Hold
does.
on.
These.
I hope you guys got that. I'll see you in a minute. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hold on.
Actually, well, we're probably going to be needing to end soon, but
Yeah, we're going to close it soon, but let me say this. Roaming, could you concede that the alternatives that Richard mentioned are healthier than salmon, perhaps, because it does eliminate the negative effects of salmon?
if there were something that would like in and of itself have all of the benefits of salmon with none of the negative side effects, like as one thing,
like hemp
then
seeds?
That one thing, like again, if they all of the
Like flax seeds, like chia seeds?
hang on,
Okay, let her talk.
if like you could find something that had all of it, then yeah, I would concede that would be
No,
healthier
why does one
than
single
salmon.
food have to have every single nutritional fat,
It
every single
doesn't-
nutritional
one
benefit?
single
No, why does one
thing
single food
doesn't
have to
have
have
it,
every
but when
single
we're looking at all of the benefits that salmon contain,
Which is
like
none.
it's
which is virtually none.
it does have a lot of benefits to your
No, it
health.
doesn't.
You can,
Like what?
those things that I
Name
just
one.
mentioned that
Name
are
one.
present.
Name one. Name one. How
Omega
does salmon?
fatty acids,
Okay, and
high
how
in
does that?
protein.
High in protein, what does that matter? You know, fish is the highest source of dietary methionine next to egg whites. Methionine is a sulfur-containing amino acid. It directly feeds certain forms of cancer, and this is actually how dogs can detect cancer in the skin. Methionine-dependent cancers release gaseous sulfur compounds. So methionine directly feeds certain forms of cancer, and also methionine plays a role in raising IGF-1 levels, which is also another risk for cancer. No. Cholesterol and saturated fat itself also feeds certain forms of cancer. Breast and prostate cancer are especially affected by saturated fat and cholesterol. They actually use cholesterol to grow and survive and proliferate. And if you reduce the cholesterol in your diet, you actually cause death of cancer cells, certain forms of cancer. So no,
the
again,
thing is,
the overall
I've
benefit of fish
I've let you
is
talk,
nothing.
and here's the thing: you're acting as if okay, yeah, fish has this. Okay, yeah, fish has this benefit. But therefore, these other things also have it. Therefore, fish is unhealthy. The thing is, when we look, and this is a study that I mentioned before, when we look at comparing rates of heart disease and
These
things
are
like that,
population studies with so many variables to control for the results are virtually
Okay,
none.
hold on,
You need to
Richard, just
rely
let
on
me finish
optimistic
this,
data.
and then we need to move on.
well, actually, I think then we need to finish because it's been an
Yeah,
hour.
yeah.
But, when we look at different populations, one eating meat products, one not eating meat products, when the rates of chronic illness are compared, both of these populations experience rates that are cut in half from the average meat-eating, probably doesn't give a crap about their health person. So, you're saying like, oh, salmon contains this, which can do this, which can do this, and then cancer. Like, people eat salmon without getting cancer.
Vegans have the lowest risk of cancer out of any population, even when compared to healthy populations of meat eaters that eat the same amount of fruits and vegetables. That is an absolute fact. Vegan diets have special protective benefits, especially against hormone-related cancers like breast and prostate cancer. You're just spewing pseudoscience nonsense.
I'm not.
No,
spewing
you know what?
nonsense. I haven't said anything that wasn't scientifically true.
No. The American
Yes.
Diabetes Association. No, the American Diabetes Association conducted a study. They compared vegans with all other diet groups, including semi-vegetarians who consumed meat less than once per week, but more than once per month. So about 2 to 3 times per month. Vegans had half the risk of diabetes.
Okay,
Even-
one sec. Roaming,
even when
respond to that, and then we have to do closing statements because it has been an hour. So just response to that specifically, Roaming, and then we
Sure.
need to...
I never said that. You're trying to make it seem like I've said that vegans cannot be healthy. I said the exact opposite in my video, and I've never claimed that they can't be healthy.
No,
If you are
you're
vegan,
trying to argue that meat is healthy, and you haven't done that. You haven't demonstrated how
Well,
meat
let
is
Roaming
healthy.
finish.
If you want to see a reason why like meat is healthy, then you can honestly just Google it and you'll see tons of
Just Google
benefits
it
to
like
meat.
you did? I should look at bullshit online blogs like you did that are biased?
Anything I've provided in my videos
No.
was
You
factually
provided
accurate.
no,
It was
you didn't.
factually
No,
accurate.
you provided
Yes,
no medical
it
journals.
was.
You provided no medical journals. Online fucking blogs written by random idiots is not proof.
What they wrote was sourced by like obviously I can't
I'll give
include
you an
a
example. I'll give you an example. You used some weird online resource that said meat has a benefit because it has vitamin K2. The article you referenced recommended eating heart disease-causing foods like egg yolks, milk, cheese, liver, beef, and chicken. So you linked
beef
a
and
source.
beef and chicken when eaten in
in moderation, you mean like 2 to 3 times per month, which increases your diabetes risk by double?
Okay, guys. Honestly, now we're just getting into...
And that's not an argument for whether or not it's healthy. That's an argument that you can eat so little of it to the point where it won't cause any health problems. That doesn't prove it's healthy. That's a completely different argument. You are dishonest.
That
Okay,
that
I'm
is
gonna
not
have to-
dishonesty. Sorry.
No,
go ahead,
that
Blaire.
is dishonesty.
I hate-
You are,
I mean,
you
I-
are arguing something completely different, and you constantly will not
I
accept
am not.
wrong.
I am not arguing something completely
So
different. What my
online
video
blogs?
said,
No, online
what,
blogs are
sorry,
credible
what my
evidence?
video, I've let you talk plenty. What my video said specifically was that you might want to get a K2 supplement because it's not found in like.
Yeah, and that was
Which
pseudoscience bullcrap.
actually is one thing I will concede is that K2 is actually found in this. I think it's called Nuto. It's a Japanese fermentation.
Well, that's another stupid. No,
soy,
that's another ridiculous thing
does
that
actually
proves
have
you
the-
didn't even read these
So,
articles. You
I did
claimed-
read these articles,
No, you didn't.
and the
you
thing
claimed
is
that you
K1
cannot.
can be
No, quiet. You claimed that you cannot get
Wait,
K2
okay.
from. You claimed that you cannot get vitamin K2 from vegan sources. The article you linked claimed that you can get K2 from natto in the same video, and now you're changing your statement. So you did
Yeah.
not read these articles.
I did read the article, but
No, you
I will
didn't.
concede that I did. I did read the article,
No, you
but
didn't. You
I
said something completely contrary to the article
Okay.
you linked. You
It
didn't
mentioned
read them.
the
You
article
read the
itself
first
mentioned
paragraph.
fermented. The article itself mentioned fermented foods, and I was under the assumption that that was like for supplements. But there's actually this food that you can get, and I will completely concede that I was wrong about like the Naruto, or not Naruto, that's anime. But I completely concede that I was wrong about that. But the thing is, K2 isn't found in other
Yeah, it's
vegan
produced in your gut
sources.
bacteria, so why the hell are you
Okay,
recommending
but-
supplementation?
Because the rate the conversion rate at which K1
No,
becomes
that's
K2
pseudoscience.
may
That's
not.
pseudoscience.
That is not
that is complete
pseudoscience. We
pseudoscience.
always have
Your
to
own
talk
gut
about-
bacteria
okay,
produces an adequate amount of K2. K2 deficiencies are so
Everyone-
incredibly rare. The only way you can induce them is by giving an extreme course of antibiotics.
They're not.
Okay, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut you all off now. I'm about to mute everyone if you want to stop. Okay.
Sorry.
So, it has been over an hour, and that's as long as you wanted to go. If Roaming wants to go longer, or you guys want to go longer, we can. If you guys want to do a part 2, but we do have to stop it now. Closing statements from you guys, if you want to do those. Just don't respond to each other's closing statements, because that'll just incite more debate. And y'all gave me a headache, but go. We'll go with Ask Yourself first.
Yeah, well, I would just say the same thing that I've said along. I mean, my focus here is ethics. I think that if you want to say it's okay to treat animals in a way that you're not okay treating humans, you need to differentiate them in a way that would make the treatment okay for either if the difference were true of either. So if you want to say, you know, animals are less intelligent, therefore it's okay to stab them to death needlessly for food, is it okay to do the same to humans of that level of intelligence? If you want to say it's emotional range, is it okay to do that to humans of that emotional range? And if you just want to appeal to the totality of difference and just say, well, humans and animals are different, that's not anything specific. That's no different than saying, oh, blacks and whites are different, so it's okay to stab blacks to death needlessly. You need a logically consistent basis for mistreating a creature. You can't justify it with a given reason in one context and reject the exact same reason in another context.
Okay. Ranting Monkey, your turn.
This all started because RoamingMillennial made a video about how vegans behave. Each of her points, everything that has been discussed here, even when she was talking about the nutrition in there, was all around how vegans behave. Nobody started this as an argument against veganism. Neither Roaming, from what I know, or myself have a problem with a vegan diet. I have no problem if that's how people want to live their life. I'm not going to do it, and I don't want it preached to me, which is one of the things that vegans do that drive people nuts. It's okay to have a conversation about how people act and it not have anything to do with anything else. You can look at how a vegan acts and say, this is wrong. And even if you're looking at a generalized sense of it and say, this is putting people off, and it have nothing at all to do with the ethics of veganism.
Okay,
That's all.
VeganGains, your turn.
Yeah, RoamingMillennial just links pseudoscience garbage to try to argue her opinion that eating meat is healthy, and she uses that as the basis to, as an ethical argument for the consumption of animal products. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She randomly looks up unsourced articles online that contradict her own opinions. She'll say that saturated fat and cholesterol causes heart disease, but then she'll link an article that recommends eating high saturated fat and cholesterol foods for vitamin K2. She just links pseudoscience garbage. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. And this is her whole basis for her entire argument. You should eat meat because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about nutrition. And you know what? I'd love to have another debate with you where we argue about nutrition specifically, because that is your fallback. We need to eat meat for health reasons, therefore it's okay to kill animals. Let's have that debate. I will make you look like an absolute moron.
Okay.
That's not what I said, but okay.
That was me. Roaming, your turn.
Yeah, sure. So the video that started all of this, I think, was kind of taken out of context, and it was meant to, people took it as something that I didn't intend for it to do, and maybe it's part of my fault for not being clear enough, but in no way was I attacking the vegan diet. I do think that eating meat is part of a healthy diet when you do it in a balanced way. I'm not saying that anyone should or should not be vegan.
You haven't even
decide that
defined
for
your terms.
yourselves.
What is a balanced diet? How much meat can you eat until it becomes
Let her
unhealthy?
You should,
talk.
you should probably,
I love
everybody,
your bull crap.
everybody,
I love your bull crap. Keep
Guys,
going.
these are her closing statements. She didn't interrupt a single person.
Yeah,
she needs
sure.
to say what she's going to say.
everybody, when you're thinking about your diet, I totally recommend you go see a nutritionist. Listen to them. If if you have specific health issues that you want to address, then obviously take that into account when planning your diet. But a vegan diet, like a meat eating diet, needs to be planned. You need to think about what you're eating, and there are things that human bodies need that require a lot of vegans needing to take supplements, or at the very least be very, very good with planning their diets. And I have no intention of convincing vegans to eat meat, but I think something that I will bring up, for my own self, I think it would be wrong for a lion to eat a person. And if I were to think that, cows had a level of consciousness that made it immoral for me to eat meat, I would feel in that case morally obligated to stop cows from being eaten in the wild. If cow lives are really worth protecting from humans, then they are worth protecting from all predators, just like human lives are.
Okay. I think everyone's got in their final statements.
I'll throw in one non-debate related.
Oh wait, and I do concede that I was wrong about the K2 not coming from things. I
vitamin D
should've-
and iron.
No,
And vitamin A.
What?
No, but vitamin
keep
A doesn't come preformed. Vitamin A doesn't come preformed.
Yeah, no
That's
shit. You're
exactly
playing a
what it is.
semantic game. You can get vitamin A from carrots and sweet potatoes. You're playing a
Okay.
semantic game.
That's beta
Okay, that
carotene
will
and
be
the conversion
for-
rate.
No, the
I'll-
conversion rate is quite adequate. You don't know what the hell you're talking
It's
about. I
not.
already disproved this.
Okay. Okay, that will be for part 2,
Yes.
and I am now muting everyone, if only for a few moments, so everyone can calm down, and Roman can think about how she wants to close out the video. And now I will, actually, Roman, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay, so first off, thank you, Blaire, for moderating. I think you did a good job, and I especially appreciate the fact that you were waking up early because you are on the West Coast, which is 3 hours earlier. So everyone, big props to Blaire, and especially since I think you did a really good job. Thank you for Ask Yourself and VeganGains and Ranting Monkey, everyone for coming on. I do think that this conversation has stopped being productive, and like I said, I wanted to keep things to an hour, so the hour is here. I feel like we did get sidetracked a little bit, but I hope that people enjoyed this because this is YouTube, and at the end of the day, we are here for you guys, and I see you guys next time. Hope you had a good time. Bye.
You guys can unmute yourselves. I don't know if I can unmute.
Oh, I already did.
So
No,
I'm assuming that this is not live anymore.
No,
No,
we
we're
went
on
off
stream.
live.
And I'd just like to say on a personal level, if any of you guys, I guess this doesn't really apply to Blaire if you're already vegan, if either of you guys want to talk about ethics, you are more than welcome to hit me up. All my Facebook is linked on my YouTube, so if you ever want to discuss, totally fine with that.
Thanks,
I might
Ask
take you
Yourself,
up on that on a philosophical level. I just wanted to say I don't agree with you guys at all. I appreciate that you came to talk, and thanks for doing this, Blaire, and Roaming. Thanks for having us all.
I'd
Yeah,
like to have a
see ya.
future debate about nutrition.
I would like you to stop interrupting me when we debate.
Yeah.
If we can agree
I'd
to
like
that,
you to make
then
sense for once, but
I
wishful
just-
thinking.
Okay.
No,
All right.
I'd love to have a
Then-
debate about nutrition though, if you have the guts for it, because I know you don't know
All
what you're
right.
talking about.
Okay, Richard, the thing is, this conversation, I'm a little disappointed with it because, like I said, I fall somewhere on both sides. But I will say, it probably came across as I was on purely Roaming side the entire time just because I had to stop you guys from interrupting her. So hopefully if we do a part 2.
Oh, well, you know what? I had to
won't be
interrupt
like
her. She would trail off into
did
absolute
it, though.
garbage nonsense. We only had an hour. She'd talk about absolute bullshit. She
It's
wouldn't
not-
answer
all right.
questions.
I really
she'd
do need to
diverge.
go.
But
bye,
half
so-
the time. But half
Bye,
the
guys. I'll see you guys
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, see you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, have a good day.
Okay, bye
Yeah,
guys.
see you all.
Bye.